good, world? Slick here with World's Outstanding Casuals, tuning in with a little special. We guys didn't pod today, so I want to talk about these NBA Finals a little bit since we ain't touched on it. Start off by saying I do not have a dog in the fight. As you can see, that's the home team. We didn't make it. However, I did have picks when we first started the pod up until before the playoffs started with picks. So originally, my picks to go to the finals was the Bucks and Golden State. Neither one of those teams made it. When we redid our picks before the playoffs started, I picked the Clippers to win the championship. That didn't happen. So let's dive into it. By me picking Milwaukee to come out the East, and that didn't happen, the team that ended up beating them was Indiana. I've been following them ever since. Just want to start off by saying they're well deserving of being in the championship. They worked their ass off, and they outperformed every other team that they played. They deserve to be in the championship. Shouldn't be no flukiness looked at towards this team. They definitely deserve to be in the finals, as well as OKC. Speaking of OKC, in the Western Conference, I didn't think this was going to be their year to win. I thought they were a year early, starting their maturation last year with their run that they made and how they performed in the regular season. I just thought that would carry over to this year, and there would be some growing pains before they could actually get to that hump, get over that hump and win a championship, which they did. However, the only team to show them resistance in this playoff stretch was the Denver Nuggets. And that was because Denver has multiple options at the point of attack that can create and score buckets, predicated on what OKC defense likes to do, which is smother guys. Once they beat one off the dribble, another one steps up and forces you to make a decision with the ball. However, Jokic, one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league, was in that series. So he had a lot to say about that. Denver actually took them to 7 games. OKC just wore on them. That defensive pressure just wore them over a period of time. Denver was in multiple games, late, early, and collapsed. Kudos to OKC. Back to the Pacers. The pace that they play with, the conditioning that these guys in, the coaching that they have, they're a well-rounded basketball team. They're the exact same thing OKC is in the East, minus the defensive physicality. Even though they have defense, it's not as far as turning and creating turnovers, though. They rarely get blown out. I want to say they probably got beat by more than 15 once or twice in these playoffs. I believe once. 8 road wins. I mean, just a great team. So going into this matchup, I figured it was going to be a clash of styles, and it's like cliche because we only use this term in boxing where styles make fights. And I think that's just with any sporting event. We just seen it happen recently with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Kansas was a heavy favorite going into the game, but I don't think people was really looking at all the analytics of how Philly could beat the Chiefs, which was a rematch from a couple of years ago. So as far as the trenches, there's no question Philly had that on lock. And they just used their strengths to wear down the Chiefs. It's going to be the same thing with these playoffs, or with this finals appearance. Yes, OKC has a phenomenal defense. But what makes their defense great is their ability to switch everything. And when one guy gets beat, another guy steps up. You can't do that with Indiana. You can't leave anybody in their starting 5, let alone anybody on their team. You just can't leave them because they're all capable of making plays. It's built into their system with Rick Carlisle. You just can't leave anybody. You know, in the first round, OKC was able to lead Scottie Pippen Jr., Second round, they was leaving Westbrook at numerous times. Third round, you had Jaden McDaniels. They was leaving him, letting this guy get off. You just can't do that. You can't do that with Indiana. And those type of things I think those are going to be the things that hurts them ultimately in this series, as far as how they want to play defense. Indiana is neutralizing that with their offensive capabilities. I just think that's something that's huge, and it's been proven time and time again throughout these playoffs with their style of play and how they're never out of a game. Tyrese Halliburton, his ability to take and make big shots, even though his character and play is being judged at an all-time high. You can't knock the guy for what he's able to do on the court. I just feel like Indiana has the advantage in this area. Game one, the difference is you could leave Lou Dort. They're okay with Lou Dort hitting 5 threes. They're okay with Shea getting his. If Chet, J-Dub, and Shea each don't get a dub, I don't see Oklahoma City beating a well-oiled offense in Indiana, especially with the coaching. And speaking of Carlisle, phenomenal coach. Great Eastern Conference runs with Detroit. This playoffs is actually reminiscent of what he did with Dallas, with how he swept through the West. I believe it was the Lakers, OKC. Can't think of the other team, and they ultimately end up beating Miami in the finals. Phenomenal coach. Same type of run he's had then. He's having now with these guys, and it's just proven if he has a roster that he can compete with, he's gonna have them boys competing at an all-time high level, and they're gonna go places. Indiana actually went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so I'm taking Carlisle in the coaching department as well. Just a phenomenal coach. And just to touch on Tyrese Halliburton a little bit, like I said, he gets killed a lot in the media for how he plays, and I agree. It's fluky as hell. The dog, I agree, but it works. It works. Something that's interesting about this guy is I actually wanted the Bulls to draft him, and we took fucking Patrick Williams. We could have had Hali. We took Patrick Williams. We know how that's turned out. But he went to Sacramento, backed up De'Aaron Fox for a few years, and he wanted to work with Drew Hanlon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he's a trainer. And one of the conditions that Drew told him he had to do before he worked with him was he had to be more aggressive on the offensive end, because he's a point guard first. So he told him he had to shoot 14 shot attempts in order for him to work with him. So on this particular night, Tyrese Halliburton took 19 shots against the Philadelphia 76ers, and he ended up with 38 points. So when he has a willing aggressiveness, this pretty good thing is going to happen for his team. These are some numbers per shot attempt per wins for Tyrese Halliburton. When he shoots 9 or fewer shots, the team is 5-6. 10 or more shot attempts, they're 47-21. 14 or more shot attempts, they're 30-13. 15 or more shot attempts, they're 29-10. 16 or more, they're 20-5. 17 or more, they're 15-2. And 20 or more shots, they're 4-0. So when he's aggressive, these guys have a pretty good chance of winning. And I just think, man, I think Indiana's going to win this one. I have them winning tonight. It's not unusual or crazy to say that they can't win another road game. These guys have just been absolute road warriors all playoff stretch. And like I say, if J-Dub, Chet, and Shea each don't get 20-plus points, I just don't see how they beat this Indiana team, because they're a well-rounded offense. You can't leave anybody, so their defensive strength really is null and void. It's just going to be interesting to see how OKC comes out. I've been saying this all playoffs. Chet has to be their second-best player, even though everybody says that it's Jalen Williams. With Chet's size and ability and matchup nightmares that he creates, and his ability to take the ball off the dribble, rebound, and defensive prowess, he has to be their second-best player. So yeah, man, I got Indiana winning this series. I had Indiana winning this series going in. I think it's a style makes fights type of series, and I'm gonna give Indiana the nod, especially with everything I just mentioned. You guys, let me know what you think. Shit, Pacers are 6. Let's go.